everybody, good morning. It's Kim here. Pardon my rough appearance. I've been out here in the tiny trailer, part of the Tiny Garage series. This is my new, this is actually me and my good friend Jeff, new toy hauler that we've been building for the last several months, getting ready to take it on a trip. And one of the things we did was when we bought it, it had no power. We weren't willing to pay them what they wanted in order to put the power in. So we've spent the last, I guess, 2 months on and off on weekends trying to get this thing put together so we had decent power in it for a long trip. So I wanted to give you a tour of the power that we've just recently completed. In fact, today, I just finished it all right now. Jeff did the majority of the heavy lifting because he's a professional electrician with General Motors. And so we decided what we wanted. We went out and bought all the stuff. And we didn't really have a plan, but it kind of worked out pretty well anyway. Had we planned it, I'm not sure we would have planned it much differently. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see what we've done. I want to go through and explain the house system that we've created and how it all works and why we did what we did. So with that being said, let me go ahead and flip this camera back around. Okay, so I think the landscape mode is going to be better for this. First off, there's the front of the nose. When we got it, of course, nothing was there. I built all that, and I'm not much of a carpenter or handyman, so I did the best I could with it. Someone else probably could have done much better, but for what we were going for, I think it turned out well. So anyway, we have the cabinets above. Now, those lights on the cabinet are actually USB-C rechargeable lights that have little magnetic mounts, and they just clip up under there, you can see right there, and stick there, which is very cool. So when I'm traveling, I'll just take them down and I'll plug them into a USB-C charger and let them charge. They're supposed to last something like 100 hours, so more than enough light right there, and I didn't have to run any wiring to them, and I think it accents it nicely. Then up here we got the built-in lighting that was part of the trailer package when we ordered the trailer, as you can see. And then we have a fan as well, a really nice powered exhaust fan. I forget the company that makes that, but fantastic, I think it's called. And then we had the windows installed and such. And then we did all the, sorry for the mess, we're going to clean up later today. We did all the E-track for the bikes and then the condors that mount to it. So with that being said, you can see here, here's our electrical. We're on shore power right now. So this is I have my electrical tester because I want to show you what we've done. But we have a 210 volt on one side that have a USB-C and a USB-A. And the other side is a separate 12 volt that we ran. All of it is in conduit that's attached to the bottom frame of the trailer. So it's all weatherproofed. It's all good Romex wiring as well. I forget what size we use, but again, Jeff is the one that would do all that. So we have two USB-As and a 12 volt cigarette lighter adapter. So we can pretty much use any kind of power that we would run across or need to use, like for inflating an air mattress or powering a battery charger for a motorcycle or just plugging in your phone or a lamp or whatever. So we have two of those. We have one there and we've got one over on the other side right there. They're identical, so that there's power on each side of the vehicle. We are going to eventually put something outside, but that's probably going to be next year. And we'll just put it on the opposite side of that one. So that'll be under where the awning is, so that we'll have power for outdoors. If you want to power something outside. So then there's another power that I ran. Show it to you here. We have the refrigerator, by the way, under here. Well, 4.3 cubic foot refrigerator. You can see I think, maybe you see it might be hard to see right there without light, but anyway, right there is another outlet, and that's the outlet that we've used for the refrigerator and the microwave. You can see the microwave is on. And what I did was I bought a special desk style extension cord that you can lock down, so it's nice and tight right there. So it brings the power from down there up to here. So we have access anywhere in the trailer for power. And then there's a couple of USB-As on it as well. So it's got its own built-in 12 volt converter. So I thought that was pretty slick. So now, what runs all this? That's the thing we're going to talk about. That's the big deal. That's the reason I'm making the video. So let me throw this up here so we can see what's going on. All right, so we started out basically by drilling a big hole. It was the first hole we drilled in the trailer, so that was a little scary, drilling a giant hole in it to put the shore power plug in there. And then we installed this right here. This is the inverter, or converter rather, sorry. And this is a 30 amp service, so we have 30 amp service into the trailer. And then we also have the DC over here. So all the DC plugs that I showed you are all wired directly into DC on their own fuses. And then each one of the power plugs I showed you have their own breaker right here in the box. So moving from that, we have this switch on the wall right here. We have a Group 31 AGM Marine deep cycle battery. We have a 2,000 watt pure sine wave inverter that we just hooked up and got running. And I'm going to show you how all of this works here. So the reason for the switch is to be able to switch from the shore power to the inverter power to run the house system. So one of my things was we could have just plugged an extension cord into the front of the inverter, but I wanted to be able to backfeed it in and run the entire house from the inverter, so we wouldn't have to keep unplugging and plugging things in. So we went the extra step. Jeff installed this really nice panel right here. So we have a shore power. It's a three-way switch: shore power up, inverter down. And then if you see over here, I've got a couple of notes. Move the let me get that in focus for you here. Move the breaker to off when using the inverter. Then there's an inverter cutoff down here, and I'm going to show you how all this is going to work here in just a second. So right now, as you can see, we're on shore power, and you can tell by the lighting on the tester that we have a good continuity and shore power with that. So now I'm going to go to inverter power, and to do that, I'm going to switch this down to inverter. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to switch X marks the spot, off. The reason you have to do that is because what's going to happen is the inverter is feeding back into the converter to create 110 volts to power the house, but it would also literally be trying to charge itself because it's pulling from the battery to the inverter coming back into the converter. Well, then it would be going through that circuit back to the battery, and it would be like an endless loop. And I don't know if it would work or not, but we didn't want to take the chance on that. So we have to make sure and turn off that switch, which we just did. So now I'm going to go to this inverter cutoff. This is a 200 amp breaker. And that's why the cabling is so big on that, because it's going to run our microwave. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn the inverter on. And now the inverter is on. And then we go back over here. We have our shore power. Our microwave is back on again. Our refrigerator, of course, will be on because it's plugged into that same circuit that the microwave is in. And now we have safe 2,000 watts of power, so we can like microwave food or maybe run a small heater. Like I got this small heater right here. It's the first time I've tried to run it. Let's see what happens. There it goes. So there you go. So it's pulling nicely off the inverter. How long I can run that really depends on how much we have in the battery. But that's a 1,200 watt heater, just enough to take the chill off in here on a cool evening. Then you could turn it off and everything goes back to normal, of course. So there you go. I think it was all pretty slick. I think we did a great job. We certainly have probably more into it than most people would go to the trouble of. But it's safe, it's reliable. The actual house system itself is still on battery power direct from the battery. We didn't change that, except for the fact that I wired it into the breaker box, so the house has its own fuse. And then the 7-pin coming in from the truck as we're going down the road would also provide the power to the battery and to the house so that we could keep the battery charged while we're driving. The shore power will also trickle charge the battery when we're on shore power, say plugged in at a campsite, something like that. And then last but not least, we put a outdoor light, which didn't come with the trailer. There's the awning we installed. So we took a basic standard trailer and made it into I think a pretty decent toy hauler. Next year, probably do something about the walls and the floor, maybe jazz that up a little bit. We spent quite a bit of money here just in the last few months on everything that you see here, and it's definitely usable now, which was the whole point. I'm going to take it to North Carolina next week for a 5-day motorcycle tour. I'm going to haul my bike down there in it, and then I'm going to inflate a big air mattress in it and have some lamps, and going to make meals every night in it, and I'm going to give it a good test and see how it works out. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys when you hang out on my channel. Still don't know why you do, but I hope you found this interesting, and I'll let you know in the future. Let me go ahead and show you what the rest of the trailer looks like while we're at it. So here's the trailer. It's all aluminum. Torsion axle suspension, made by a company in Michigan called Neo. Supposed to be one of the best trailers on the market. I certainly like it. I think it's very cool. There's the first ever hole we drilled right there. Oh, and a good friend of mine, this power actuator, which raises and lowers the trailer for free, and we ran a separate wire out to that through the I think they're called J boxes, where we had to change from one angle to the other. We used connector boxes that you could unscrew and you could manipulate the wires inside. So we just came out of that and came right over to that. All right, well, there again, thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Oh, one more thing. So if I want to go back to shore power, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the inverter cut off. Well, two ways I can do this. I can turn the inverter off and then use the cutoff switch to disconnect the inverter from the battery. Then I'm going to turn the system back on there, and then I'm going to move up to shore power. And now we're back to shore power, and you can hear the converter fan come on and run. There you go.